Thank you, John, and thank you all for being here. My name is Bridget McCormick. I'm the Chief Justice of the Michigan Supreme Court, and I am very grateful that you all showed up on Valentine's Day to share the love of the civil justice system. I started my career as a legal aid lawyer. I actually became a lawyer because I wanted to make sure that the justice system was open to everybody. And so I am very excited about the Justice for All Task Force, which has a goal of achieving 100% access to Michigan's civil justice system. I'm especially grateful to my colleague, Justice Brian Zara, sitting to my left, who has been the court's leader on this task force and is spending a lot of his time working on Michigan's particular solutions to our civil justice gap. If that's for me, I can handle it. I can take a call. And you will hear from Justice Zara about what the task force has been up to so far and more specifics in a moment. I also want to thank Representative Tommy Brann for joining us today. Representative Brann Representative Brann's businesses are wonderful supporters of our Veterans Treatment Court here in Grand Rapids. And Representative Brann, as a small business owner, has firsthand experience about how often his employees have civil justice issues that they need help with. In fact, every year I get some good idea from Representative Brann. I feel like we should put him on the task force. So we'll hear from him in a moment. I'm grateful that he's here. Michigan's not alone in this work. There are lots of states across the country trying to figure out how to do better in their civil justice systems. And many of them are tackling the problem like we are with the task force. The Council of Chief Justices, the Chief Justices from around the country just last week at their annual meeting issued a resolution on this topic. The resolution says, access to affordable legal services is critical in a society that has the rule of law as a foundational principle. Legal services are growing more expensive, time-consuming, and complex, which makes it difficult for many people to obtain the necessary legal advice and assistance in adversarial proceedings involving basic human needs, such as shelter, sustenance, safety, health, and child custody. And the chiefs urged states to be innovative and creative in solving the problem of closing the civil justice gap. So I am very grateful that this task force is working on that, how to be innovative and creative here in Michigan. But we've been, for the last 9 months, as Justice Zara will tell you, gathering information about where the gaps are. But it seemed to the people on the task force that it was important to hear from members of the public who actually experience these gaps. Because that's a part of the story that we want to make sure we understand before we come to some ideas and creative solutions. So thank you all for coming. We will, after hearing from Representative Brann and Justice Zara and Angela Tripp from Michigan Legal Help, we will take public comments, and we will probably have to limit them to 3 minutes each so that everybody who wants to has a chance to be heard, but we'll turn back to that in a moment. For the first person I'd like to introduce is Representative Tommy Brann. Representative Brann.
Thank you, Chief Justice McCormick and Justice Zara. I'm glad to be here today. I do get my constituents call me from Wyoming Environment Center, and they ask me questions about they need help with civil things against them, and they ask me questions, and I do French fries, I do hamburgers. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, and I feel bad when I can't help them. And it's my job to help them. We took an oath under Section 55, Article 4 to protect the safety and health of our citizens. So I think this is a good initiative. I mean, I think it's well overdue, and it's going to make, as a state rep, make my job easier and make my job more fulfilling because I can point my constituents to the help they need. So I really appreciate the justices for taking this up, and thanks for having me here today.
Thank you, Representative Brann.
Thank you, Representative Brann. Thank you, Chief. Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Zara. I sit on the Michigan Supreme Court. And the Chief and I have served together in the court for more than 7 years. We spend a lot of time together. We spend a lot of time talking to each other about the law and our cases and administrative rules, and more often than not we agree and sometimes we disagree. But on this issue, access to justice, we stand hand in hand. We agree wholeheartedly that the people of Michigan deserve our best effort to provide access to civil justice to all those in need. Now, at the beginning of the task force, beginning of this project, we put together a wide array of people. We went to social service groups, we had judges from all levels of our court systems, representatives from various legal aid organizations, librarians, and other people who encounter people with legal issues or legal problems. We asked these people to serve on our task force because we wanted to hear from them. Our goal was to put this group together so that we could hear about who was in need of help and how they were receiving that help. We also wanted to learn, though, about those who fall through the cracks, those who come in looking for help and are unable to find any help. And a little bit more difficult issue we were trying to ferret our way through is to find out who's in need of help, but they're not even showing up at legal aid or other places because they don't even understand that they have a legal issue and that they need assistance of some sort. And frankly, we're still learning in each of these areas, and this is why we are here today. While we're still in the information gathering stage, though, it is abundantly clear that there is a significant gap in the access to justice in our state. What I'm learning from our task force is confirming my experiences from many years ago when I was a baby judge, a trial judge in Wayne County. And at that time I was young and naive, and oftentimes it shocked me, quite frankly, to see how many times I'd open up court and every Friday on motion call there would be one or two people who came in that had a significant legal issue, but they didn't have any representation. And as a baby naive judge, I thought, well, I can take care of that. Have a seat. When the motion call is done, I'm going to go in the back and I'm going to open up my bar journal and I'm going to call this legal aid or go through my list of resources that can help. And I was shocked, quite frankly. Even though there are many legal aid organizations out there, there are different levels of qualification to get someone in to be represented, or oftentimes they were just so full they couldn't take anyone in. And it was heartbreaking to see that many times we were unable, more often than not, we were unable to assist. So we had to proceed with these people representing themselves. And we did that, but it really bogs down the system and it slows things down. What I've learned so far in the task force has confirmed what I learned as a judge. Our goal for this task force is to be creative in opening doors to our civil justice system. Our goal is to educate a wider group of our stakeholders on how to access the different kinds of justice available. Oftentimes, though, we're going to be providing assistance in a manner where we don't utilize lawyers. It could be that we provide access to information through the court's legal staff, or maybe librarians who are available, or it could be the use of technology, kiosks in the lobby of the courthouse, or perhaps you'll be able to get information that's very helpful on your cell phone, which, thanks to your Michigan Supreme Court, people can now bring their cell phones in to the courthouse.
Oh, come on, this is exciting.
So there are many avenues we're exploring, many ways that we can provide assistance to people in need. But make no mistake, lawyers will still be play a critical and important role providing access to civil justice. For example, and one area where we need to improve, in Michigan, lawyers can practice limited scope representation, but very few lawyers do. Limited scope representation is where lawyers provide help with only some of a person's legal questions or legal needs. The attorney and the client work together, and in doing so, they're able to bring a lawyer's expertise to an issue to help them resolve their question and do so in a more affordable way. Limited scope representation can help clients obtain answers to significant legal questions and still allow the clients to do some of the work on their own to make the the law more affordable. And from my perspective, this is a win-win situation, because the lawyers who otherwise might not provide any services at all are providing some services and being paid for those services, and clients who would otherwise be denied any access to justice are obtaining significant information from these lawyers who provide limited scope representation. So one of the obligations we have as a court and as a task force is to educate lawyers on their opportunity to provide limited scope representation and getting lawyers more involved in doing that. So we're in the information gathering stage, and when we're done gathering this information, we're going to put together a comprehensive plan to fill the gaps and to tear down the barriers that we find existing. We expect this plan to be done by September of this year. Hopefully we're going to be on schedule. We're moving at a pretty good clip. We're gaining a lot of information, and so there's a chance it might take us a little longer, but I think we're going to be on schedule. And one thing you have to remember, so what works here in Grand Rapids might not work in other parts of the state, for example, up in the UP. So we need to be creative and come up with different solutions to address every corner, every inch of the state of Michigan. Through private and public partnerships, innovations, changing court practices, through judicial education, more focused resources, Michigan will be on the path to providing 100% access to civil justice for all. I look forward to hearing from you, because you are the reason we are here, and your ideas, your experiences will be critically important to us in developing our plan for the state of Michigan. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Angela Tripp, who runs Michigan Legal Help. And frankly, Angela, with Jennifer Bentley from the Michigan State Bar Foundation, are the heart and soul of our task force. I'm the liaison for the court to the task force, but Angela and Jennifer are the moving force. So I'd like to hand off to Angela to talk a little bit about what she is able to provide through Michigan Legal Help. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Zara and Chief Justice McCormick and Representative Brand. And thank you to all of you for being here today. I'm Angela Tripp, and I'm the director of the Michigan Legal Help Program. I'm really grateful to you all for being here today to share with us your experiences with the civil legal system. We appreciate you coming and opening up to us to tell us about the struggles and the challenges that you have faced trying to handle civil legal problems like custody, eviction, debt collection, and others. We also hope to hear about maybe some good experiences, because we do have as much to learn about what's working in our court systems as we have to learn from where the failures are. If you're feeling too shy to come and speak, you can just write a comment card and give it to me and tell me that you don't want to speak, and we'll still use your information. You can also put comments on the back of your survey. So one of the pieces of paper that we hope you picked up was our survey. It's just a few questions. We're doing a lot of surveys as part of the Justice for All Task Force, and we couldn't pass up the opportunity to get input from folks like you here today. So please take a few moments to answer that survey. The reason we're hosting this town hall and doing the broader work of the Justice for All Task Force is to learn more about all of the resources that exist in Michigan and how good of a job they're doing, or not, to help people like you. We're going to find out about innovative things that are working well, and also, as Justice Zara said, where those gaps and barriers are. And we want to try to find out what the legal system could do more of to work better, to help people get their legal problems handled in a fair, timely, and meaningful way. After we collect all this information, we're going to be putting together a plan of action, of concrete steps that we can do. And when we have that, we're going to be coming back to the public a second time to help us prioritize those changes. So we're going to be asking for your input at a couple different places along the way. While we're here talking about the civil legal system, we wanted to make sure to share information with you about some of the free help available right here in your community. You are incredibly lucky to have Legal Aid of Western Michigan here. They've got offices in Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Holland, Muskegon, and St. Joe. You can call them, or you can apply online to see if they are able to help you. Experienced attorneys there and wonderful attorneys there may be able to help you by giving you legal advice or representation. But unfortunately, as Justice Zara mentioned, there are only funding for a small number of legal aid attorneys, and so many more people come to them for help than they can serve. And so we have other resources as well. Another fantastic resource right here in town is the Legal Assistance Center in the Kent County Courthouse. There are other self-help centers close by as well, in Berrien, Allegan, and Ottawa counties. The self-help centers and the Legal Assistance Center can help you with many kinds of legal issues if you're representing yourself. They can help with information and forms, answer questions about court procedures, and much more. They can refer you to local resources, other resources as well. Another resource that's available to everyone in the state is the Michigan Legal Help website. It's available online 24/7 to provide legal information and referrals on a wide range of legal issues, from divorce to custody to expungement, from name change to small estates, debt collection to a simple will, and many more. You can access it easily on your phone or on a computer at michiganlegalhelp.org. The website has tools that can help you easily and accurately complete forms to do things like fight an eviction or debt collection action, file for divorce, or find out if you're eligible for food stamps, among many other things. There's also a lot of educational information there if you're curious and just want to learn more about what you do to do a step-parent adoption, or what to do if you think your child needs to be evaluated for special education. There are checklists of instructions that guide you step by step through the legal process, both in court and outside of court. And you can also learn about and connect with other ways to solve legal problems, such as through mediation or online traffic ticket or warrant resolution systems. There's also a guide to legal help where you can give us a little bit of information about the legal problem you have, and you can get legal information and referrals that are tailored to you, to your problem, and to where you are and to what resources are near you. So for example, you could use the guide to find out if Legal Aid of Western Michigan is likely to be able to help you, or to connect with the self-help center in your area, like the Legal Assistance Center. Michigan Legal Help covers the whole state, so if you have a legal problem somewhere else, you can also find resources for that there. If you've used any of these resources and have feedback for us on how they've helped you or ways that they could help you better, please tell us about it today. Representatives from, I think, all of Legal Aid and many of the self-help centers and Legal Assistance Center are here. I'm always open to comments, so that's something else we'd love to hear feedback on. The goal of the Justice for All Task Force is 100% access for 100% of the people. And that does not mean that 100% of people get an attorney to represent them. That is not practical, and I would argue not necessary. Instead, we need to build a strong continuum of resources, different kinds of help for different people and for different problems that can make the justice system accessible for everyone. We can also make changes to the way the justice system works to make it less complicated and less of a burden. And that is the goal. That is a goal that is achievable, and that is what this task force is going to deliver. Legal Aid of Western Michigan, the Legal Assistance Center, and Michigan Legal Help are 3 examples of the different ways in which the legal system can help people. Even if you don't have a lawyer, you don't have to handle your legal problems alone. So now I'm going to turn the mic over to you. If you have comment cards, we're going to get to the work that we came here to do, which is to hear from you. So if you have comment cards, please give them to me. I'm going to circulate. I'm going to get started with the first commenter, and then I'm going to circulate and get comment cards. If you want to speak, be sure to fill out a comment card and give it to me. If you need cards, there's more on the tables. As Justice McCormick said, we're going to try to keep people to around 3 minutes, just to make sure we can talk to everyone. And we look forward to hearing from you. So we're going to start with Agnes Jury.
Agnes, hang on one second. I want to thank Angela and Justice Zara again. They have very busy day jobs, and they're doing this on top of their day jobs. They both traveled here from the other side of the state, and I'm so grateful for all of their work on this project that literally is just on top of their full-time jobs. And I want to recognize a couple of folks in the room that I should have before. Kent County Commissioner Jim Talon is here. Thank you, Jim, for being here. Judge Westra from Kalamazoo, Judge Woke, who's on the task force from Ionia, and Chief Judge Mayfield from Berrien County. Thank you all for being here. And I see Phil Skaggs from Representative LeGrand's office. Thank you very much. And you're also a commissioner. You've got a lot of roles, don't you? Got a lot of roles. Yes, yeah, Phil Skaggs is here. So if Skaggs is here, we're ready to go. Let's go. Okay, with that, Agnes, thank you.
Yes, thank you. I come here wearing a few hats. I'm here on behalf of the GTLA Bar Association, which is Grand Traverse Legal and Trim Bar Association. I'm here as a past volunteer of a statewide or multi-state, I should say, organization called not-for-profit called Administer Justice, as well as an attorney and a volunteer of legal aid clinics. So wearing all these hats, there's one thing that I can recommend, or I'm here to suggest that would help bridge the gap. The biggest need the not-for-profit and bar associations have is to get attorneys to represent parties in cases that are more than limited scope. The full scope representation that requires 20 or 30 hours of representation. The family law matters that involve serious custody battles. As an attorney, I know that attorneys don't want to take these cases on because of the extent of work that's involved, because of the liability they take on their shoulders, and because if they're doing 20 or 50 hours of work on those cases, that reduces their income by as much as $30,000 to $50,000 a year. I know that Northern Michigan attorneys are struggling attorneys. It's not the same as in big cities where incomes are above $100,000. Northern Michigan attorneys struggle. They're usually solo practitioners that really can't dedicate that much time towards a non-earning case. State Representative Brennan opened up with a comment that people call him and they say, well, I can't pay for these services because this is what I do and this is what I do. And they may have skills, but they don't have the money. And a great way to bridge that gap is for the State Bar of Michigan and Supreme Court rules to allow attorneys to participate in barter exchanges. Current Michigan rules of professional conduct have been interpreted to mean that the rules do not allow, or it would be unethical for attorneys to participate in barter exchanges. They also call them trade exchanges. For those of you who don't know, there is actually, since the 1980s, there has been a market for bartering. Instead of using money to get services, you barter skills that you have. There are now multiple markets where an attorney could perform services for somebody. That somebody can, let's say a painter. A painter can perform services for a plumber. A plumber can perform services for a mechanic, and the economy keeps moving that way through barter rather than money. This would allow the attorney to still have a value in the services that they provide, but not in a cash currency, rather in a barter currency. I think that would be a phenomenal way to bridge the gap for those full scope representations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I should mention that the state of Connecticut has allowed these. They took the same rules, the ABA rules, interpreted they have substantially similar ethics or professional rules as we do, Michigan does, and their interpretation of those rules in 2015 was completely opposite of the way that our ethics opinions have interpreted our rules in the 1980s. And so much time has passed, and we're such a internet-based world nowadays, or virtually based world nowadays, that our interpretation in the 1980s may no longer make sense. I do have a copy of the opinion. I would love to provide it for you because I think that it more correctly reflects how we should look at our rules nowadays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, could Gabriel Sanchez, your writing is not, I was not 100% sure. Did I do okay?
Yes, that's my name.
All right.
Hi, my name is Gabriel Sanchez. I'm an attorney here in Grand Rapids, and I just want to comment very quickly on the issue of debt collection. I'm one of the few attorneys in the state who dedicates most of their practice to defending debtors. And I think nationwide, about 75% of debt collection lawsuits go unanswered, and so they result in default judgments. About 90% of the time, people are not represented. That's both here in Michigan, and that's also nationwide. I do think, because most of these collection suits do wind up in our district courts, there are a couple of just very simple, very basic steps that could be taken at the practical level to alleviate some of these problems. I think the biggest one, and there is at least one court I know in the state that does this, before default judgments are entered against potential debtors, the debt collector or the attorneys who are representing them, they should have to demonstrate proof of assignment. In other words, when it comes to debts, a lot of times they've been sold off 2-3 times. I've seen certain suits where the thing has been sold off 7-8 times. So something as basic as saying, okay, you're going to come to court, you're going to get a default judgment, prove to me that Cash LLC or Midland Funding or whoever it happens to be, prove to me why you own this debt before default's entered. I think that's extremely important. I think at the same time too, these, and I don't want to besmirch any particular court here, but there's a system here where alternate service is rubber stamped, and that's becoming a real big problem. Alternate service under the court rules and under the interpretation of Michigan law says it has to be able to give reasonable notice, or reasonably constructed to give notice. I have clients who've been sitting in jail in Kent County for 3 years. They get out and they find out, oh, I had it tacked up at an address in Newaygo I haven't lived at in 5 years. They get the default against them, and it's extremely difficult to go back to court, even when they do have a meritorious defense, to sit there and convince judges to go, no, unravel the default, let's proceed, let's look at the merits of this. It happens all the time. A lot of clients that come to me, they only find out they had a debt collection suit against them once their wages or their bank account's been garnished. So I think these kind of steps, just to make sure that there's a screening process before we start rubber stamping alternate service, rubber stamping default judgments, be a real simple way to make sure that a lot of individuals, pardon my French, don't get hosed by our legal system, and can hopefully have a much more fair experience when it comes to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
How are people able to hear in the back? Do we need to raise the mic? Yes. Okay, so when you come to the mic, please try to talk into it. I will try to assist in that process. We need a musician to do this job. I'm not familiar with mine. Can we turn up the volume? We can try. All right. Rebecca Arredondo, can you come up?
Hello. Okay, well, I am Rebecca, and well, I just want to share a little situation that happened to me not too long ago. I was not even, honestly, didn't even have in mind to share this, but as I was hearing you, I'm like, okay, I think I should make a comment about it, about traffic accidents. About 4 months ago, I had an accident. My car rolled over in the highway. It was raining, it was an actual accident. I had a mild concussion when it happened, so and I've never had an accident before, so when it happened, they gave me a ticket for improper usage lane. Because I didn't have no car, but I was very worried about the ticket. I went the next day, I took the bus because I didn't have my car, went to try to sort the issue, and then the clerk just told me, oh, that makes no sense that you got a ticket for that. Because I wanted to know, okay, how can I defend myself? Do I have to go to court? Or, I didn't know how to navigate that. And also because my mind at that moment wasn't thinking right. So the clerk even said, oh, I don't think you even need to go to court for this because it was an accident. So maybe you can just write an explanation, and probably with that, they're just not going to give you the ticket. So I just took the clerk's advice. I ended up getting the ticket. Now I have medical bills. I have over 2,000 bills to pay for the hospital or the ambulance because my Medicaid doesn't cover it. My car insurance didn't cover it either. But now that all of this happened, I realized because of the fact that I had that mild concussion and I wasn't thinking right, I wasn't even able to reach out and realize, oh, maybe I could have had a legal advocate before I went and did all of that by myself. I think something that would be someone that their mind is not right at the moment, even having a legal advocate in the hospitals. For me, I think that would have been extremely helpful to know what was my next step instead of not thinking right and doing all the things by myself. Now I feel at this point it's too late. So yeah, now even though it was 4 months ago, I'm still struggling, besides all the bills that I have to pay because of that. I have to save money to get a new car, so I feel now the fact that I survived from like a horrible accident. It was like a punishment, you know, like a financial punishment. So it was just a comment I wanted to make. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Foster?
Good morning. Sorry, another attorney lined up here, but I serve in a couple different ways. One here in Grand Rapids at Nell Trotter Ministries, where we do legal aid for mainly residential people. I'm also a State Bar Representative Assembly elected member, and I also work part-time for Supreme Court Office and Child Welfare Services and foster care. So I've seen a lot of things, just two quick comments. One, most of the people I deal with that are homeless, indigent, that kind of group, have zero knowledge of Michigan legal helps. Wish there was a way they could kind of promote that more. It's a very good help, but it seems to kind of get missed, especially for people that don't have computer access. So I don't know if there's another way to advertise that, but it's obviously a gap that when I direct people to that site, they're kind of blown away that there's so many, you know, you can walk through, do the little picture thing, you know, they fill in the blank, it's very user-friendly, but so many people, I'd say 90% have no idea. The other thing, I just worked recently on a large debt collection case where the clients did all the filing themselves, had a default, didn't file an answer. So where I got involved in limited scope, which I think we could promote, was in the mediation part of it. So we set up a mediator through the court, and it ended up costing the client less than $500. We resolved the issue for a monthly payment plan that they could not have done on their own because the attorney representing the creditor wanted motions, discovery. It was going to be a long, drawn-out thing. So I think if we could encourage attorneys to maybe look at even doing limited scope in mediation, I think serving on the State Bar Representative Assembly, I think that might be a way to encourage that group maybe to look at this more, because this limited scope is, I think, a real good help for clients, and it's not without cost, but it's so much different than saying I've got this unending cost that if you represent someone, it could be thousands. So the people I helped with that were so appreciative that having someone there at the mediation so they could talk attorney to attorney made the difference where they didn't feel like they were being taken advantage of. So if there's a way we could promote Michigan legal help more and even encourage attorneys to look at limited scope, maybe just an area of mediation, I think that would be a great help. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments and thanks for your service to the State Bar.
Next, Kristen Wolfram, can you come up and speak? Or if anyone wants me to bring the mic to you instead, please just raise your hand when your name is called and I'll do that.
Good morning. I guess my question essentially, it's more of a question than a comment, was would the court consider making some more modern changes to the court rules, such as, something like text messages or emails or something like that for notice that would help prevent things like default.
We just approved both.
Right, and we actually do now do text message the Supreme Court has developed that innovation, and we are, a lot of our local courts are now using it, and it's a huge improvement.
And that trickling down to sort of the district level, as well as even encouraging, I always say I'm a legal aid attorney at heart. I started at FLAC in Wayne County, and something that we have there is precipice, where the opposing party actually has to prove that they made some kind of contact with the other party attempting a resolution before, so that we don't show up in court and they go, I don't even know what this is about. When you finally get people there, you realize that you didn't have to be there because the situation could have been resolved, beforehand if they had, either notice or an opportunity to respond beforehand in a real way.
Thank you.
Nicole Evans, did you want to come up or did you just want me to read your card?
Hey, you can just read my card.
Okay.
So she wanted to know, will there be more funding for legal aid? Good question. I think recommending to engage the pro bono community and partner with more 501c3 organizations to expand services and implement ODR and Zoom appearances where in-person isn't necessary. So following up on that last comment about using technology to increase access and people's participation.
I should have said at the start, the purpose today is mostly to get your input. So, I don't want, the more I'm talking, the less we're hearing from you. So I feel like I'm happy to answer questions separately, but we do now have online dispute resolution in 17 counties, and it is our goal to have it in 83 counties this year. Funding is, unfortunately, we don't do the funding. That's another branch of government, but we ask, and so we have that same question, and we're asking. And simplifying processes is important for us to hear about. That's one of the things we're grateful for your comments for.
Daniel Rudd, can you come up?
I'd like to reserve 2 minutes for the rebuttal.
You have to keep track of your own time.
I've heard that before. So I think the new legal aid stuff has been great. I love the direction the court's been moving with the unbundled legal services. But like the first commenter said, I think complicated child custody proceedings, especially if there's domestic violence or abuse neglect issues, or just disparity of litigation resources, that really falls through the crack. And that's about as close as you can come to a criminal proceeding, but you don't have any kind of right to counsel, and a party with superior resources can just outlast. That also encourages, sadly, people using tactics that are designed as scorched earth rather than advising their clients to behave in ways that help the children. I think a great solution, not a solution, but something that could help. There's already the existing fee shifting provisions for domestic relations are kind of a way to protect from some of those issues, to discourage misconduct under the one rule, and then the other rule to balance litigation resources. I think a major problem is that in our trial courts across the state, it's very inconsistent how those rules are applied, and often judges will just defer a ruling on that. In some counties, judges are reluctant to award any kind of fees or sanctions under any court rule, and they don't really take a look at the financial circumstances and the pressures that puts on a custodial parent, a protective parent, or any parent who has to be there and really should have an attorney. Like I said, the legal helps are great, but there's something about being in that position where children are on the line that advocating for yourself, for them, without an attorney is extremely difficult. So if judges could, there could be provisions that require judges to issue timely rulings on those things. There's an appeal by right from a denial of attorney fees, but a lot of judges are very good at not denying attorney fees, but they're just, the proceedings go on for years and there's no ruling on it, and you can't have an appeal of right. And contrary to, we think of the Court of Appeals as they're going to take up a case if there's merit to it, but a lot of us don't think that really happens. That an appeal by right is, an application for appeal is not the same thing as an appeal by right. And if you're pro se and you have to put together an application, you basically are having to write a brief. Maybe you're doing that on top of your job and you're caring for your kids full time too. That's an incredible undertaking. Because the courts are not consistent in enforcing the fee shifting provisions, you can't go to an attorney and say, look, this is a meritorious case. Look at the case, and you're going to get your fees eventually because of the fee shifting rule. Well, attorneys in my county don't have any confidence whatsoever. And there's very few decisions that emphasize that there should be need-based attorney fees for taking an appeal. So I'm out of time.
You can finish your thought, but I'm just letting you know. This is the first gentle notification.
Thank you. It was kind but authoritative. So if there were some provisions to make it consistent, but also you've got a lot of statistical research at your disposal already through the scale reports. If they did some things to attorneys are in the habit of, you could, especially as courts go to electronic, you could have really good statistical data on how this stuff is being handled at the trial court level. Some of the geniuses that can do the algorithms, they can really understand what was happening there and make sure it's more uniform. Eventually, that's going to help the judges. Judges don't really like having pro se child custody. Thank you.
Carol Reenstra?
Thank you. I am the president of the Restorative Justice Coalition of West Michigan. We work very closely with the Dispute Resolution Center, the director for which is here today. I did see a question on the survey about using community dispute resolution services. I'm concerned about the opportunity for more low-income, low-wealth people to access education about the opportunities for restorative practices and dispute resolution. It seems that the resources that are really helpful, not only for a particular case, but for ongoing relationships in families and in schools and in our community, would definitely benefit everyone. It would be a culture shift, and we're bringing in next week someone to speak about what Detroit is doing to become more of a restorative city and hope to educate people in that area. I had one instance recently of a young mom of 4 little girls, a single mom, who was being charged with child abuse and needed to get to the jail right away at night in order to not be out of compliance with an arrest warrant. And trying to figure out, this goes to the point that somebody made about an advocate for people who do not have family or friends that could stand by them through a situation like that. So the need for education as well as advocacy, and I think what were we talking about? Limited scope mediation, that more attorneys would be trained in the whole area of dispute resolution. Instead of talking about it as legal stuff, it's relational, and build a relational culture that grows in all our systems, schools, homes, courts, and so forth. That's what I would be advocating for. Thank you.
Debbie Fox.
Hello, I'm Debbie Fox, and I'm not a lawyer. Okay, I have first one question. What do you do when a judge that's a civil judge takes on a criminal case and stops the criminal case from being prosecuted for years? Does anyone?
Yeah, I think we're probably not a good idea for us to answer the question. It sounds like it might be about a pending case, and it's not
Okay.
not appropriate for us to comment on.
Okay, then I have another comment.
Sure.
That because the courts are not writing on the form anything about the Uniform Military Guardianship Act. They don't say, are you a veteran? Is your spouse a veteran? Do you receive any funds from the VA? And list the kinds of funds, and they do not give out the document when they petition for court, either through the petitioner or the GAL. There's no information on there about the Uniform Military Guardianship Act. This is putting thousands of veterans in guardianship. This is a civil war going on our grounds right now with probate. They not only take the VA funds, those funds, because there's nothing on the paperwork, are not reported to the VA hub in Indiana. So there's nobody watching over the whole case. And they're using the funds from the VA that's supposed to be used just for the veteran or the spouse for their care. They're being used for legal fees, thousands of dollars. We're talking $45,000, $75,000 of the income that's supposed to be used just for the veteran. And it's horrendous. And I know this because this is my mother's form. My mother's a Marine veteran from the Korean War era. She's 89 years old. It's been in guardianship since 2014, brought on by fraudulent financial elder abuse case and of the children. And it's not, it's stopped by the judge, but there was no question anything about if she received any funds, and she did receive funds, and she did pass tests at the VA. The VA did not say she needs guardianship, and if they do need guardianship, they would only have 10 boards, not 1,400.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Elvira Hernandez.
I'm Elvira Hernandez. I currently work with the ACLU of Michigan. But the comment is actually more in general. I worked for many, many years as an immigrant advocate. Worked before with Farm Worker Legal Services and other legal aid programs. I'm currently the program associate, so I'm doing a lot of outreach with immigrant population. So I hear a lot of stories, and I'm also oftentimes the person that am the phone answer, so I get a lot of requests for services for the ACLU. Unfortunately, we just don't have the resources, and we are very busy right now. But one of the ongoing issues that we have heard of from different locations is of ICE coming into the courthouses when people are trying to take care of other issues, like family law, not just traffic tickets, but it could stem anywhere from traffic tickets to trying to take care of child support, or even gain custody or take care of custody issues. So to be able to use the court system for what it's there for, and then be actually faced with, confronted with ununiformed ICE officers. And from what we've heard, they're also just telling them to stay quiet and not create a scene because they're in the courthouses. I think that there should be some kind of a practice that needs to stop, so that people can actually think that the immigrants can also think that they are included in this justice for all, and that they can in fact use the court system for what it's there for. Again, just one of the many issues that we have heard of. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cynthia Hine. Do you want me to bring the mic to you?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, here.
I want to give that. I'm Cynthia Hine, and I'm president of Voice. It's an advocacy group, and one of the things yesterday I witnessed in court watching in Genesee County was that Judge Janine Barkey had made a ruling but refused to look at the evidence that was admitted and refused to read the evidence that was admitted. And I want to know what the Supreme Court can do when the people are denied their rights. Another question I have is the people going into Supreme Court are not allowed to have a jury court when there are laws that say we should have a jury court, but probate courts will not allow it in Michigan. I want to know what the Supreme Court is going to do about that. Thank you.
Sammy Hyde.
Hello, I'm an attorney. I'm an attorney with Graywall Law. I work in our Open Mics office. We also have one in Grand Rapids. My comment is on law school clinics. I didn't go to law school in Michigan, but I'm from Michigan, and I participated in the Veterans Legal Assistance Clinic when I was in law school. We specifically worked with veterans who most were suffering from substance abuse issues, homelessness, on civil issues. It ended up being a lot of family law and a lot of child support and arrearages and things like that. But I think there's a great opportunity to involve law students, obviously supervised by qualified barred attorneys and teachers and things like that. But I think that it's a great opportunity because as a young attorney, I also realized that law school doesn't necessarily prepare you to be a lawyer. And it's those experiences of getting to deal with people and deal with the courts and opposing counsels and things like that that really prepare people and also afford the public the opportunity to get that experience at a low cost or free.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shannon Tennis.
Thank you.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. My name is Shannon Tanis, and first I come here as a woman on the soil. I am part of the State Assembly of Michigan. And also I come vetted underneath E-Clause, Loss Prevention for Government Accountability. There has been a mechanism that has been created and put in place to solve all of this. Quite frankly, Jesus Christ was our Savior, and He paid the debt, okay, which made us the creditor, the man and the woman. The system, as it is now, has turned us into debtors and has made the bar members in the judicial branch as the creditor. The courts make us a negative, they make their action a negative, and create a positive for themselves. Now, we're into a fiduciary fraud issues. Not only on the front side, because you created us into debtors, but also on the back side. I can expose, which I have shown many, the treasury bonds that are created off of every instrument. There is not full disclosure in telling everyone that when you go to a doctor's appointment, when there's a docket number open, it creates $16,000 immediately off of that instrument in treasury.gov for the bonds, okay, paper bonds. It gets issued every month, forever. Isn't that enough money to secure the financial aspect of this? And this is every action. Our very existence creates these things, okay? So I'm here today. Again, I spoke before you on June 14th, before Attorney General Danny Nelson and Supreme Court Justice Mr. Bernstein, and said this needed to be cleaned up. And I commend what you have done and what it looks like you're trying to do, but it's not enough. It's clearly not enough. Code, statutes, and policies, compartmentalized down to the very bottom, is not standing in law and constitution. It's very simple. It's been overcomplicated. And educating the people that they have the right to initiate these things on their own is very essential to this. People do not understand that you have the right to do this. There's a common law. And I understand this more than anyone because I was born in a Commonwealth state. My father was in the military. I've seen in almost every judicial aspect, jurisdiction, I mean, every rule exercised in many capacities, okay? So I understand how to apply this. I am currently being blocked. I have filed 2 petitions with my state representative, with the House Speaker, the clerk, and the Secretary of Senate. And our Constitution says we have the right of grievance to address our government. And they're stating that bar members are saying that it's not legal. It is lawful. There's a big difference. Legalese is illegal. Lawfulness is in law with the Constitution. So we need a complete overhaul of understanding of this system, that we need to get bar members educated what in law means, okay? So I put my name on my survey and contact. I implore for you to engage. We want to work with the current system to get it corrected and in good standing. As far as the council issue, there was a Supreme Court case that was already decided this issue 10 years ago. For it to take 10 years to come to public forum to be able to be addressed, it is just not acceptable. So property, we are the ones that are credited, okay? So there should be no blocking of counsel for any reason, for anything in the judicial system at all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much for your comment.
Yes.
Sherry Lanky, and we're getting down to our last few cards. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? You can come around and pick up your card. I don't need to give you a card.
Hello. Hi. My name is Sherry Lanke, and I am the director for the Legal Self-Help Center in Ottawa County. And I've been very fortunate for the last 9 years to work for a court with a chief judge that is committed to access. So over that 9 years, I've learned a couple of things, and I wanted to share just 2 observations. The first one is technology definitely has its place, but we can't have 100% access if the human element is taken out of it. The human part is very important. And the second one is that when people come to our center and ask questions, they're often stressed, and we can give them all kinds of information, but as soon as they walk down the hall, they're going to forget half of what we said. They're going to have this brain dump. I guess that's actually a term, but so they're going to forget. So one thing that we've done that we've been very happy with and seen great results is to take the wonderful information that Michigan Legal Help has available, and we've printed it out. So when people come up to our window while they're waiting, we have a spinner there, and it has categories, and they're color-coded for people that, custody is all yellow and divorce is all pink. So they can look at information, and they can take that out of the courthouse with them. So if they want to get more information, they know where to go, and they don't have to worry about getting everything right then. But we've had to spend a lot of time taking the information from Michigan Legal Help, putting it into a format that can be printed. So my challenge, perhaps, is to encourage a partnership maybe with Michigan Legal Help and SCAO. We get SCAO forms. Why can't we get PDF Michigan Legal Help articles? And that would reach a lot of people that don't turn to the computer or can't turn to the computer. If they come into the court asking for help, a clerk could give them a copy of this article. So now you're getting not only the technology people, but everybody. You're getting that information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Christine Gilman?
Good morning. I'm Chris Gilman. I started as a legal aid attorney. I followed that as staff attorney at the Legal Assistance Center, and now I'm the director of the Dispute Resolution Center of West Michigan. So part of the 18 centers, I cover all 83 counties in Michigan. I ask you to consider the gap between what people need and what our justice system can provide. As Carol said, mediation and restorative practices are about relationships. So mediation really allows people, and restorative practices allow people to have a conversation, to express how they were affected, to ask for what they need. What do they need out of this? It really empowers people to have a voice. It's also faster, cheaper, it's private, it's not in a public courtroom. One of the greatest things about mediation is the compliance rate. People comply over 90% of the time with an agreement they reach. They did a study a while back in Kent County Circuit Court, and only 56% of judgments were complied with. So say we get an A. Court's not so much. And I think, as Carol said, it's really important if we can educate people to use these alternatives to the justice system. I had the good fortune to mediate an insurance case the other day, which insurance drives me crazy. That's the kind of case I don't really like to mediate. But I said I'd do it. Gentleman came in, he had a complaint with his insurance company. His air conditioner was vandalized, and he filed a claim, and they paid, long story short, they paid half of it. So he had to file a suit on small claims. The company removed it to district court. The court sent it to mediation. We sat down, and within an hour, the gentleman had an opportunity to explain to the attorney what he needed. The attorney listened to him, and they walked out of there with an agreement. And it happens time and time again. So I just ask you to consider, again, getting education out there for these alternatives to the justice system. So we're an alternative and also a supplement to the justice system. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Tom Howe?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just like to say that I'll talk about these unlawful probate courts that are here in Michigan. Kent County has one here, Genesee County has one that I'm involved in, Oakland County. And these judges, what's actually happening is just like what happened in Nazi Germany at Nuremberg. And although they exterminated 6 million Jews legally, they found out at the end it wasn't lawful. Okay? And what's happening here in these probate courts is they think this is legal to void all the laws in the state of Michigan. Okay, the guardianship law 753-13, affirmed by the Getzler Court of Appeals law, that family does come first and family does get guardianship first. But these probate courts, they assign permanent professional guardians who rob and pillage people's estates. And we have 67,000 victims in this state right now. And right now, it's in your right hand. All you need to do is sign an order and put these courts, because each one of these courts belong to you. They don't belong to me, they belong to you. Dana Nessel can't fix this, okay? They belong to you because you're a separation of the judicial system and the legal system, even though what they're doing is completely illegal. I sat there yesterday in Genesee County and watched the judge violate all the estate planning laws in Michigan and sell my mom's house in violation of state law. They gave her an illegal guardian. We had this conversation in the back with one of the guys here, nice guy, who writes the forms for the state of Michigan. Hi, full guardian, partial guardian. Okay. Well, first of all, under the state law, 700-5306, Section 5, it's illegal to take away the person's health care and financial power of attorney. Okay, these courts don't mention it on the record. They don't go through it. The form just says full or partial. You walk up to the clerk and they said, everybody gets a full guardianship. So that means that you illegally, by federal law, violate everybody's health care and financial power of attorney. Why do one? Because we're living right now in a lawless state. And we're asking every member or every citizen of Michigan that's 65 and older to get the hell out of here. Get out of this state because it's a legal state and it's in your hand. That pen right there, you can take that home this afternoon and you can write an order and you can put all these courts on notice that if any of the court violates these laws, that you're going to arrest them. Because that's exactly what they deserve. They think it's legal, but it's not lawful. And the state laws say this specifically, including the Getzler Amendment. And it's not working. These courts, it's costing the families, the litigants, all their money. My mom's got robbed for $300,000 so far in the last year, and she's been isolated in her house, and I haven't seen her in a year. Okay, and I know my state reps talk to you about this, but I'm just one of tens of thousands of cases here in Michigan where families have spent their entire life savings, $500,000. I watched Judge O'Brien in Oakland County sit there, and he's working for the other side. He's not supposed to work for the other side. He's supposed to be impartial and sitting there, and he has his canons, and the court is for the litigants. It's not for him. That's my court. It's our court. And that needs to be changed immediately. And it's in that pen right there in your desk. All you need to do is actually do something. And it needs to be today. Because the state of Michigan is bleeding to death, and it's an embarrassment to the United States of America because that pen will fix this today. And it's not being done. And this whole Michigan task force for the elder abuse thing, it's 7 months late. The court, the legal system here for working with the representatives in the Senate, they don't even know how to write bills. They have no idea what to do. They have none. Everybody's just standing here like, well, just let these people rob everybody in America. This has got to stop. This has to stop immediately. And it has to stop with you. I mean, I sat down there at the Court of Appeals in Detroit. I watched Ehrlich sit there. I watched him come in there and he stands right there. Everything's denied.
Thank you. Thank you.
It needs to change quick.
Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
With
Barnstorfer.
Good morning. I'm Liz Brandstorfer. I'm the chair of the family law section of the State Bar. And when we got the announcement about this meeting today, I sent an email out to just over 1,000 of our members on the listserv looking for ideas, and we got quite a few. First of all, I want to say I've been to 2 or 3 trainings on limited scope representation in the last year, and I think that's going to help a lot for people in the middle, and that's who I want to talk about. Not those who are eligible for legal aid, not those who can afford to pay my regular hourly rates, but those people in the middle who make $20, $30, $50, $70,000 a year and have significant family law problems. So 2 of the very best ideas that we got came from Judge Engel over in Ottawa County, who's not the chief judge she was talking about. He's the other one over there, and he's got some really good ideas too. One of them has to do with a modest means program that's supported by local bar associations. Apparently Washtenaw County has a very good one, and I, since I got his email, have reached out to try to find out more about that, to see if the section can do something to help get that going. Maybe then coordinate with the litigation section of the State Bar to try to get some sort of modest means program going. One of the other ideas was let represented cases get called first so that people don't have to pay their lawyers to wait. I would say let the pro bono lawyers go first, let the modest means lawyers go second, then have the people who are paying their lawyers, have them go third. Not that self-represented people's time isn't as valuable, but it encourages people who can afford some legal help to get some legal help when they're going to the courthouse. His other idea was also similar to one that was mentioned today, and that has to do with law students. There are law student clinics who the clinics can supervise, who the prosecutor's office can supervise. How about allowing lawyers and law firms to sign up with a little bit of training on supervision and let law firms supervise those law students as interns so they can go to court, promise to charge significantly lower rates, promise to have a means-tested option for some of those students so that it expands the number of people who can supervise, expands the number of law students who can participate, and then that would obviously expand access to justice sort of for those people in the middle.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Charlie Campbell.
Hello, my name is Charlie Campbell. I am a non-lawyer legal professional, paralegal, and I started out my career as a department coordinator at the Legal Assistance Center here in Grand Rapids, and for the past 3 years I've been serving as a legal advocate at the YWCA, our local domestic violence and sexual violence service provider. What I wanted to address to you guys today is to really, I think we've heard it in a few comments here, is to really look at the role that non-lawyer legal advocates can play in our system. There's a lot of work that the Legal Assistance Center does with students and paralegal students, law students as well, and I think Liz brought that up as well for law school students. But I think it could also be informed by the idea that a non-lawyer expert is better than a lawyer non-expert. Somebody who knows a specific area of the law and what resources are available in the community is going to be far more valuable to people seeking to resolve their legal issues than lawyers that may just be out of law school or don't necessarily practice that area of law to give them the information they need. So that's what I would like the court to really consider, is look at the models that other states are using for non-lawyer, even if that's non-lawyer practice, but understand that if you create a system where the barrier to entry is high, like being a lawyer is, that's why people can't afford lawyers, because the barrier is so high, the cost to become a lawyer is so high that the cost lawyers have to charge for their services becomes unreachable for most folks. And so if you make non-lawyer, if there's regulations around non-lawyer practice as well, if you make that barrier to entry high, it's not necessarily going to solve our problems. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone who's spoken. The justices are going to wrap it up here. We got a few more comment cards. If you want to leave your comments, you can leave them here. If you hope to talk to someone and you didn't have a chance, Leanne Gaspar in the back and Thomas Myers is right there. They are happy to talk with you some more.
Yeah, I just got a comment card in just a minute ago. Was it too late to speak minutes?
It is. So if you could talk with one of them, that would be great. And if you could leave your surveys with us on your way out, as well as any other comment cards with any information, and I'm going to turn it back over to Chief Justice McCormick.
I want to recognize a few additional judges who are in the room, and we are grateful that they're here. Judge Von Allsburg from Ottawa County, Judge Nick Ayub from the 61st District Court, Judge TJ Ackert, and Judge Rossi from the 17th Circuit are also here. We are grateful to all of the judges who showed up and for everybody else who showed up to give us some good ideas and some good comments. We appreciate it. The process will continue, but we are better off for your contributions. Thank you very much for being here.